Hello and welcome back to the Barefoot Skinner channel. I'm Darren and I'm coming to you from the At Creek's Bend taxidermy shop. Today, like we've had in the past this year, we've got some form modifications to do. Sometimes these deer, you get the neck measurement, the eye measurement, frame, the body is a little bit too large. This particular form, the 64D head down series, I like the position of the form, the position of the head. It presents the antlers very well, but it's a pretty large frame form, and a smaller frame deer won't fit on it very well. So I've got this form, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it down. I'm going to shorten the neck on it. I'm going to narrow the body. I'm going to leave the head position where it's at, because that's where it needs to be for the customer in the head down series. So we'll start cutting. I'm just going to do a straight cut on this head today, coming from right at the top of the neck, the base of the skull area, going right straight down to the throat crease.
Here I'm going to split this form right down the center line of the neck, shoulders, and brisket, and take approximately a ½ inch out of it, which will close up the circumference about an inch. I'm going to take an inch and a half out of the length of the neck to get the hide calic down there in front of the brisket to get down to where it's supposed to go. So I've got the neck cut off and shortened. Now I'm going to remove that portion of the shoulder area, trim up the excess material on the inside, and just screw it back together and move on to foaming it after I fit everything back in place. And I only need to make the body smaller. The actual neck size up behind the ears is the correct size. So I'll open the front of that neck back up, and I'll have a gap there to fill back with foam. These joints where I split this thing apart are pretty tight, flush together, and that's what you see me drilling holes there. I'm putting a ½ inch hole in the joint area so that it will take the foam pour. I'm going to put it in there to start the bonding process. Put a bunch of screws either side of the joints there so that when I foam it, I can wrap some strips of inner tube across the joints to keep it from expanding. that foam builds up quite a lot of pressure, and it'll move material where you don't want to move it if you don't have it secured. A little bit of this foam goes a long ways, and I'm not trying to fill everything up right now. I'm just going to put enough in there to get the major joints tacked back together. On this modification, there won't be very many places that I need to add any material back to, of course, because I'm trying to make this form smaller, so wherever the mismatches are in the neck line and in the shoulder line, I will just remove the excess material side and blend it in with the lesser side. After about 10 minutes from the pour, it's ready to clean that up and move on to sculpting some of it back down and seeing where else I need to fill. And if you watched any of my other form modification videos, you'll see that this long reciprocating saw blade is a tool of choice for me for sculpting and blending back down the surfaces, and even as a form roughing tool in preparation for the hide paste. And like I said earlier, I really do like, and customers do also, this 64D head down series form, but it's got a very large frame body on it. The deer that I'm mounting on this mount here obviously wasn't a big frame deer, so cutting it down. So before I finish forming it, I'm going to go ahead and fit the hide on it, make sure it pulls down to where it's supposed to go, because if I need to make any more adjustments to the size, I need to do that now before I get it all glued back together. Of course, after you rough that form up, which this one's roughed up pretty much in preparation for adhesive, the hide paste, the hide don't slide on it very well, but I did get it moved down and was satisfied with where it set. And with the hide paste on it later, it'll pull down a little bit easier. Just going in there, stretching it out a little bit. The hide's been setting out, thawed out in the morning, and as they dry, they shrink a little bit, so just re-stretching it just to make sure it's going to fit. This deer had a pretty unique rack on it. It had 16 points. It had a point coming out right at the back of the main beam on the right side, tucked in right behind the ear on top of the skull cap on the right, a couple inches, 2.5 inches or so. It's made it challenging cutting and caping off there. Had to put that number 7 cut in to take the cape off instead of the normal Y cut that I do. The holes that I put in there again are to allow me to pour in the foaming adhesive. These holes will connect to the cavity that's in the neck, in between the 2 neck pieces, so I'll be able to pour in there and fill up that inner cavity too. Again, adding some screws along the joints in order to wrap that inner tube across so that I don't expand the form and break my joints.
Woke up before that Georgia sun, boots by the door and the day begun. Mama said, boy, don't you run too wild, but the river been calling me since I was a child. And now roll that wheel, clap your hands and stomp your heel. Hey, now don't stand still, we're dancing on the old red hill. Cornfield wind and a gravel road, dust in the air where the pickup roll. Granddad's banjo on the porch at night, picking them strings till the morning light. Then now roll that wheel, clap your hands and stomp your heel. Hey, now don't stand still, we're dancing on the old red hill. County fair in a mason jar, laughter drifting from the old boxcar. Saw her smiling in a cotton dress, Lord have mercy, I must confess. Head out, roll that wheel, clap your hands and stomp your heel. Hey, now don't stand still, we're dancing on the old red hill. When the sun goes down, we don't go home. Firelight blow and the banjo moan. Round and round till the stars all fade. Living free is the choice we made. Hey, now roll that wheel, clap your hands and stomp your heel. Hey, now don't stand still, we're dancing on the old red hill. Roll that wheel, stomp that heel, dancing on the old red hill.
Well, I've got all of the body modifications, alterations finished up, and here I'm coming to realize that the skull cap is very small compared to the head as far as the width of the brow, and I'm going to have to do some more modification to bring that brow closer together, a little bit narrower. I've never cut up a form like this before, but you can see the skull cap where it fits on the back of the form there. There's quite a lot of excess form sticking out beyond where the skull line would naturally be, so it had to be modified. The second tool of choice is this oscillating multi-use tool. Works really good for cutting in lines and even sculpting and roughing up the form for hide prep. So what I'm going to do is take about 5/8 of an inch out of that brow, maintaining the angularity of the eye sockets that's already there on the form. So I cut right perpendicular from the nose, maintain that angle. This time, instead of bonding it back in with foam, because I don't want it to move anywhere, I chose the body filler Bondo, which works really well for bonding the foam back together in any case. Using that multi-use tool there to sculpt in, blend in the nose, the bridge of the nose, where it's now larger than the section behind it with the eyes. So it's a little detail work. Finishing up the details with that reciprocating saw blade. And finally, the form alteration is complete, and moving on to setting the ears in clay, getting those positioned and clayed in. It's going to make this head look a lot more natural with that brow being narrowed. Off to the freezer with the clayed in ears. I like to set up the laser and get the form leveled up. Then I can use that laser line to mark the horizontal line to line up the pupils with. Most of this form has been sanded somewhere, so it didn't take much to finish roughing up and prepping the form, cutting out the nostrils, deepening them a little bit, putting some pockets in the eyes to hold the clay. And then I like to use the speed septums, speed septum tool. I believe I've got another video out there, a little short video showing the details and use of the speed septum system. Cutting in the lip line. A little bit of clay work and getting close to being ready for hide paste. After the eyes, of course. Building up the lower eyelid and the upper eyelids. I try to make sure that I'm always have equal amounts of clay already prepared so that I keep the amount of clay on both sides the same. I just use critter clay. Other people may use something different. Some use epoxy sculpt. I've never tried that method before. The work I've seen looks really good. For now I'm using the clay and brushing the form down 100% with the hide paste. Give the hide a little pre-stretch before I slip it back onto the form. Try to roll it up just like a sock would go on so that I'm not wiping the hide paste off of the form and just rolling the hide over the top of it. I personally like to get that brisket area and the pits, the front legs, get that worked in, those hairlines where they're supposed to be. I like to do that first. kind of sets the body of the hide where it's supposed to be, and then I can work the rest of it from there. I also like to go ahead and work that lip line next before the antlers are on there, so don't have to work around them. It's just a preference of mine. A lot other folks may have different preferences, but this is how I like to do it. Coating the inside of the ears with some hide paste. Getting those ready, and then I'll pull the ears out of the freezer. The clay will be hard by now, and when I put them in there, they'll kind of fall right back into place where I had them sculpted in before. And then as I work on putting the antlers on and sewing it up, the clay is thawed out by then, and I can make some final adjustments and move the ears where they need to be moved. You see that extra point there that's kind of hanging over the back of the skull cap? That's the one that I was talking about earlier. It's down there real close, real tight to the skull. Always put a little bit of clay right around the burrs of the antlers, and use clay to blend in the skull cap to the form right behind the brows. And as I sew it up, pull that hide into that clay and glue. If only the stitching went this fast in real life, that would be pretty great. It's one of those things we have to do. Take time and keep the hair worked out of the stitches so that the seam is seamless. Point down there in the hair. It's just hugs that hairline. Working out some of the excess glue and the ear liners to the inner ear.
Well, after a lot of modifications to the form, it's come together pretty good, and we'll let it dry. Get to finishing it later. So thanks for watching.